Just of hiking.
Really?
But since I hiked Mount Kenya, that cold, man, I was like, I'm not going here again. I think I got mountain fright since then.
What happened on Mount Kenya? It's much more than just the walk.
Oh.
It's the company, there's the experience.
For me, I think it was the cold. I got sick up there. I did Lenana Peak though.
Okay.
I made sure at least I got there.
All right.
Yeah?
Congratulations.
Yeah, so first of all, I see, what happened to your fingers?
In 2021, I went up a mountain in Nepal called Amadablam, and I got a frostbite on my fingers. It happens when it's extremely cold.
Yes.
And you know, the tips of the fingers or toes don't get enough blood supply or oxygen supply, and now the tissue starts, you know, dying from the tip. It came as a result of a situation that I had, being stuck on the rope at night, and I had to sort of sacrifice my fingers to get down. So as a result, I got a frostbite that necessitated a surgery. And then on this recent climb in Manaslu, the surgery points became a bit irritated and developed some, you know, blisters and wounds.
Yes.
So that's what is healing at the moment. It was more affected in my right hand than my left, because this is a dominant hand, yeah.
So you're telling me those stories and you want me to go back to hike. Just speak to me about your hiking journey. What inspires you to do that? Because it's not easy. If someone has tried, you can tell it's not easy. Sometimes you're stuck in that mud in Elephant Hills and you just don't want to go back, yeah?
I think for me, hiking started as, you know, as I was invited by a friend to join a hike.
Yes.
Which I did, and after standing her up for 2 times, you know, but then eventually I joined, and at first I thought I was very fit, and that hike was quite, well, I was knackered after that hike, and it challenged me to rethink my fitness, because I thought I was thin, you know, I was. If you looked at me, you would think this is a perfect, but I really struggled. So, well, it challenged me to go back and, you know, do more of the fitness. And the guys were also preparing for Mount Kenya. So I also joined them to prepare for Mount Kenya. And I think once I climbed Mount Kenya the first time, I really loved it. And then I hiked with an interesting group of people with so many stories. There were stories of guys who had just done Rwenzori mountains in Uganda. And the stories were interesting enough for me to want to do Rwenzori, which I did the following year.
How was it? It's between the border for Uganda and
Congo.
Congo. Okay.
Yeah, actually the summit is shared by the 2 countries. Yeah. I loved the glacier walk.
Yeah.
I loved the ice. I loved everything that came with that. And we were only 4 of us, which made for a nice group of people.
Yes.
And the following month, after coming from Rwenzori, I went to Kyrgyzstan. I found myself in Kyrgyzstan, in climbing Lenin Peak.
Yes.
It was like an impromptu or like a spontaneous decision that I made when I was coming down Rwenzori. I Google searched what next mountain I can do before Kilimanjaro, because there was a plan to do Kilimanjaro later in the year.
Yes.
And I found a group going to Kyrgyzstan. I joined them. And luckily, I managed to summit Lenin Peak,
yes,
which is 7,134 meters.
Oh, interesting. That's in Tajikistan or something.
It's at the border of Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan.
Okay.
Yes, Central Asia.
And before you do all these hikes, how is the preparation process like?
I think it's generally keeping fit, but my go-to fitness activity is running.
Yes.
I am a mountain runner and an ultra runner, and I think running is the most basic activity that I do, combined with just a bit of gym, which is strength training.
Yes.
Just to keep your joints strong, your muscles strong, but primarily running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps talk to me about your hike to Mount Everest. Your most memorable moments there and the most challenging, because I think I've watched some guy was, I can't remember the country it was from, but it was a movie. It was hiking Mount Everest. Well, it looks all beautiful, the pictures and all those views here. But again, I believe it is the most challenging. There are cases of people who go there and they don't come back. Yeah,
okay. Correction. I've not climbed Mount Everest. That's the plan for next year.
Yeah.
The highest I've climbed is Mount Manaslu.
Oh yeah.
Although I've been to the Everest region in the Himalayas.
Yes.
That's where
that's what I was looking at. Yeah.
Yeah, the Amadablam climb is 12 kilometers from Everest. So I've been to that region, but I've not attempted a summit of Everest. So that's the plan for next year.
Good stuff.
Now, mountains and Everest and other high mountains, I would say there are 8,000 mountains. There are 14 mountains in the world that are above 8,000 meters.
Yes.
Above 8,000 meters, it's called the dead zone, simply because the human body is not meant to survive such altitudes.
Yeah.
There is very little concentration of oxygen.
Yes.
There is the pressure difference between the body and the atmosphere is vast. So sometimes you find your brain swelling, your lungs swelling, and you get water into the lungs. So there are many cases of people dying on the mountain.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people have had cases of, they have read about, bodies being marker points,
yes,
on trails.
Oh, yeah.
On Everest, which is a bit scary. But I think these challenges keep attracting people. And I believe simply because of the need for the human person to overcome the limitations that are perceived,
yes,
either by him or by the society.
Yes.
Yeah. That's why probably people still keep going to mountains, to overcome some of their own challenges.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And through hiking, because I see most people hike for different reasons.
Yeah.
Of course, you'll be coming to the main aim of you hiking and supporting children living with disabilities. But again, how has that even changed your perspective on life and other experiences? Because then I assume you also meet a couple of people during those trails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think for me, I have climbing has helped me narrow down my important issues in life or my priorities in life. It has helped me view my problems of everyday life,
yes,
in a different light. Sometimes when you are facing a hard climb or you have a bad week, you go to Mount Kenya. By the time you come down, you have a different perspective of your problem. That problem doesn't even seem like a problem anymore. You have time to clear your mind.
Yes.
I have met a lot of people that I've talked to, and they have even also helped me reshape my perspective of mountaineering in some of those high mountains. Because they have done more mountains than I have.
Yes.
And probably when we talk, they think, they try to instill some mountaineering discipline in me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And perhaps talk to us about some of the obstacles that you encounter during those hiking escapades.
The obvious one is the weather.
Yes. Crazy.
And especially if you're a local hiker, the Aberdares is notorious for erratic weather. Yeah. Most likely you will have rain in the afternoon in the Aberdares, especially Satima. So that is one of the biggest challenges, the weather. And then on the high mountains, you'll have like a snow blizzard. Yeah. That may even hinder your climb for a day or two. Mm-hmm. I remember when I was in Kyrgyzstan climbing Cantegri, and we were stuck at Camp 2 at almost 6,000 meters for 2 days. We couldn't go up, we couldn't go down. The weather was just too crazy. Yes. Coming out of the tent after 2 days, we had to dig ourselves out of the tent because it was covered in fresh snow. Yes. So some of these challenges, you get them, but you have to find a way of overcoming them. Mm-hmm.
Great. And for people, probably someone who just wants to start, where do they start now? Because sometimes people make a mistake of you've not been hiking, but you want to go to Kili or Mount Kenya. Yeah. Yeah.
I think right now, anyone who wants to start now has an easier time. There are so many hiking groups that have come up, and they are helping people, start the hiking journey. Yes. Some people will start with probably Ngong Hills. It's easy enough. It's near Nairobi or Longonot, Mount Longonot, and then at least before Mount Kenya, have 2 or 3 visits to the Aberdares. Yeah. The Aberdares will help you with the altitude because it's a bit high, and also with the weather aspect. Yes. So I would urge people to look out for these hiking groups. They are all over the internet now, and it's a good thing because they're introducing more people into this space. Yeah. Which is a beautiful space. Yes. And
I saw in one of your videos when you're explaining how Himalayas was almost a near-death experience.
Yeah.
Perhaps, yeah?
Yeah.
Perhaps talk to us about that.
I summited Mount Amadablam quite late in the evening, and by that time, a lot of people had turned back because of the weather. Yes. But I was climbing with an Italian I had just met the previous day on the mountain. Yes. He was faster than me, so he summited. But at some point, I had thought of turning back because it was snowing a lot. The wind was too high. But then when I met with the guy, when he was coming down, he told me I was very near the summit, like less than an hour. So I decided to go for it. But it was a bit late for that mountain. Yes. Ideally, you should summit in the morning. Yes. I summited at 4:15 p.m.
No.
Yeah. So now coming down, unknown to me, when I was at the summit, there was an avalanche that happened on the route that I was using. And the avalanche buried ropes. And I had to sometimes dig with my hands to get to anchors or to get to the ropes. Sometimes up to like a meter deep,
Were you alone? I
was alone, like totally alone.
No porter or something?
No. This is what happened, I had a Sherpa, but I left the Sherpa at Camp 1. Yes. Reason being, the Sherpa was not comfortable me pushing for the summit from Camp 1.
Yes.
There are 2 more camps above Camp 1.
Yes.
So I decided to skip all the camps and go to the summit and go back down. It was a decision that I made that probably was not the best at the time, but I got a totally different experience, and I learned a lesson.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that, the juicy part of the story.
So now when I'm getting down, I lost some of my ice equipment. And one of the most important one was an ATC that was helping me upsail, like come down safely. But then at some point now I got stuck on the rope. The ropes were frozen. I couldn't actually put weight on the rope to go down. So at some point I just had to just stay on the rope for some time, trying to figure out what to do. And at some point, I just thought I might just stay here over the night and wait. There were some people who were at Camp 3, and they were set to descend in the morning. So I thought maybe I should hang on this rope until morning. But then it was too cold. Like I could feel the chill in my bones. Like, you know, when there's no wind, you're okay. But there's a gust of wind that would come and you feel that chill. And you know that you couldn't survive until morning. So I had to make a painful decision to sacrifice my fingers and go down or upsail unconventionally. Just grab the ropes and climb down. I did that for like three hours.
No way.
And got to Camp 2.
Yes.
I got to Camp 2 around midnight. And there were only 3 tents at Camp 2 at that point, and only one was not occupied. So I got into one, and there was no sleeping bag, there was nothing. So I just at the corner there was some cooking stuff. So I just got some ice, melted it, and made some hot chocolate, and slept on the floor. That was at 6,100 meters. I just slept there and without sleeping bag. It was quite cold. It was quite the experience.
Yes, yeah.
And in the morning, we had to radio for helicopter rescue. That actually I couldn't be rescued that same day. The heli came like twice, trying, because the weather was still very bad. The visibility was poor and everything. So the heli tried to come twice and it couldn't access the camp. So I had to sleep again at that camp as I waited now for the rescue the following morning. And
that is such an experience.
It was quite the experience.
Yeah.
And it was, I think, the closest I've ever come to, I would say, death on the mountain. Yes. That's the closest.
Crazy. Were you traumatized after that, or you just went ahead for the next hike?
Honestly, at that point, I wouldn't say I was traumatized, because I was looking forward for the next mountain. I was actually looking forward to heal very fast.
Yes.
And get to the next mountain, because I had set myself some of these goals that I was pursuing relentlessly. You know.
Awesome, great. Maybe talk to us about your initiative of mountaineering and how it's linked to you helping children living with disability.
You know, recently someone challenged me to get something positive, not just my own enjoyment, not just my own accomplishment, just do something with your mountaineering. And recently I've talked to a lady called Florence in Kasarani, who is helping children that are hard of hearing. with talking to her, she has done this for some time and realized that some children are condemned as deaf,
yes,
whereas early intervention could help them, recover. There's some residual hearing
yes,
that they have. But because they are not, that is not captured early, they are condemned as deaf, and they live their lives as deaf people, whereas they have simply hard of hearing, So she's having this program, early intervention, to have these kids tested early enough, capture that residue hearing and enhance it, have those, hearing aids
yes,
early enough, and these kids are able to live normal lives instead of simply getting, simply being condemned as deaf, and they live as deaf throughout their lives.
Yeah.
So we are partnering with her to, to provide more of these hearing aids and the testing kit for these kids. Yeah.
Awesome. And before you mentioned on that, there was the whole issue of the health risks that come with climbing mountains. So how do you make sure you balance these, and do you do some checkups before you climb the mountain?
Yeah, but for me, the health risks, I think I listen to my body more. But before Manaslu, I had to, well, before we were given the permit, we had to present a doctor's report, and especially because we were going without supplemental oxygen. So the report came okay. Of course, you are not 100% fit, like according to the doctor's report, but I listen more to my body, I listen more to my breathing, and I think with experience I've learned to know when to push and when to step back. Yeah.
Okay, great. And let's take this short commercial break. Of course, we'll be coming back to get your final words on this.
All right.
A morning cafe, and we're having a very interesting conversation here with James Muhia. He's a mountaineer, and even before we broke, you were talking to me about how people now can deal with the health risks, and in terms of even preparation before you go for these climbs. So I'd be interested to know also what's the next on your list.
The next plan is We have a plan with my climbing friend, Chariot. We climbed together in Manaslu.
Yes.
We are planning to go to Mount Everest for the summit without supplemental oxygen. That's the key, without supplemental oxygen, because I believe that mountains should be experienced in their raw form. Even if you don't summit, but you've pushed yourself to the ultimate, then you have a better experience than most. So the next challenge is Mount Everest, sometimes in April and May, without supplemental oxygen.
Perfect.
Yes.
All the best.
There are other plans in the horizon. Like my bucket list climb would be K2. That would be my ultimate climb.
Yeah.
K2 is the second highest mountain in the world, but is arguably the most difficult mountain to climb.
Yeah.
Because of the terrain, the weather, the location. It's just, it throws everything at you. And that would be an amazing challenge. But first things first. I always say one summit at a time. And so the next is Everest.
Yeah.
Next year.
Yeah. Perfect. And as someone who's hiked all these mountains, how many are they numbered by the?
I have to count them, because some I've done multiple times.
Yes.
Like I think I've done Kilimanjaro more than 10 times.
Oh, interesting.
Sometimes running up the mountain.
Yes.
Up and down in one day.
Yeah.
So there are many. Let's just say there are many.
Yeah. And as someone who's now hiked all these mountains, there's the whole conversation on matters climate change. So what has your experience been like, and what has climate change what impact has it had on these places? It's
actually a bit disturbing to see the changes happen before your own eyes. Starting from home, there is the glaciers of Mount Kenya. There's a Lewis Glacier, there's a Diamond Glacier, and from 2017 there is actual visible changes of these glaciers shrinking. And even on Kilimanjaro, the glacier that is just before the summit is actually receding, and the ice is melting at a very high rate. That affects, of course, the flow of rivers downstream, and of course the livelihood downstream. And it's high time that we realize that is actually happening.
Yeah.
And there are visible effects.
Yes.
And is affecting, actual human beings, livelihoods that rely on, most rivers originate from the mountains, those glaciers. Yeah. So there is a lot of changes happening on these mountains. And some of these high mountains are becoming unstable. Because of when you're climbing ice, you actually want it to be solid. But as we have this climate change and it's heating, you find that some of these climbing routes are becoming unstable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And your final shot?
I would just encourage Kenyans to get out there. We are constantly on our desks, on our phones. Once in a while, go into the wild. It's a refreshing experience. It's a beautiful country we have. We have some of the best trails in the Aberdares, on Mount Kenya. We have some of the best sceneries. And it would be unfortunate if we don't experience it as Kenyans, and also contribute to the positive change in the environment that we are living in. Yeah, so I would just encourage everyone to get out, hike, It doesn't have to be too far.
It can be in Ngong Hills.
It can be in Ngong Hills, which is very near Nairobi, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be extreme like some of us. Yeah. You just need, a day out.
Yes.
And enjoy. Start with Karura even, you know.
Yes.
Go walk around Karura.
Yeah.
It will refresh. You will thank me for it. Yeah.
Thanks so much, James Muhia, and all the best in your next escapade. I'll be waiting to hear stories of Mount Everest, yeah?
Thank you for having me.
Okay, and of course, on the other side, we'll be having that conversation with the Kenya Commercial Bank, our head of integrated marketing and communication, Kadhamu.